You are now tuned into the Creators Edition.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Creators Edition podcast. We have a special guest today.
Yes.
And her name is Miss Janae Ashley.
Hi. We have all our claps going around. Hey.
Yes, we have
Love
claps.
Yes, we do. So as you guys may know, I go by Dustin.
And I go by Godwin, or you can call me G.
Yeah. And like I said, this is episode 2. So we're going to kind of deep dive into some creative things with Janae, learn a little bit more about her and what she does. Last episode, if you watched or listened, you probably saw Godwin and I kind of going over our journeys when it comes to the creative side of things. So like I said, we're going to be having guests on here. So as Janae, for our first guest, the good thing is she's very multifaceted, and I can't wait for you guys to hear all about it. So without further ado, Janae, tell us something. Like, who are you? What should the people know that don't know you?
I would definitely say that I'm someone who, at this point in my life, I'm definitely searching for who God created me to be. And I'm finding that everything that I'm doing with my creativity is literally what he wanted me to do. And I have time in my life right now where I'm able to actually focus on that. And it's just really beautiful because I feel like a lot of things that I've been doing have been a testament to not only like my discipline and my obedience to me searching for who I am through God, but also just staying 10 toes down on like, really just my creativity and like what gifts and talents that I have.
Yeah, so you speak about talents and gifts that you have. Like, tell us something. Like what do you do? What is what are your passions?
I would say definitely creating things that people don't typically see or experience every day. I'm really big on experiences. If it's even food or just watching something, I want that experience to be amazing. I want to have like a happy dance. So I definitely am like an experience curator, if you kind of will. Like, that's something I like to do. I also like producing, which is something that I've done in the past a little bit, but not necessarily took it as far as I've taken it recently. I'm a writer. I love writing. Writing has always been something that has been part of who I am since I was younger. Like, for example, my great aunt would, she lives in North Carolina, and she would always like send me letters, and like we would be like pen pals. So that kind of like started me with the whole writing journey. And then once I like started going to school, elementary school specifically, we had like these like books that we could submit poems to and short stories. So I would submit them, and they would actually get published into the book. So
that's fine.
So those little moments led me to creating Real and Unexpected, which is my newsletter.
Check this out, by the way. It's coming out.
Yes.
So I have a question. So I just wanted to piggyback off of something that you said earlier. It sounds like you have a lot of faith, you know what I'm saying? Especially, in your religion and everything like that. When did that start, or how did that flourish or blossom into who you are now?
I would say, one, I've always been a believer in Jesus Christ. And I think for me, it was more of, okay, I know I'm a believer, but then are these really my beliefs? Mm-hmm. Like, what is it about Jesus Christ is in alignment with me? So last year specifically, around March, I was like, you know what? Things are just starting to feel like really foggy. I had like no real sense of like direction. And I needed something to just take me out of my element and like kind of just like lay it on the table and be like, you know what, you got to like strip yourself of like what you know, who you know, what you've been doing, how you've been doing it. And I would say once I decided to just kind of focus on God and literally let him lead me, that ultimately catapulted a lot of like my thought process in terms of how I was living my life. And so then I went through a pruning stage where like things were being stripped from me, where, they always say once you start praying to God, like, to remove you from certain things and spaces and people that don't align with you, that will happen. And you have to be okay with that. And so like my faith really helped me see that not only was I like doing certain things that wasn't in alignment, but they weren't in alignment with him and what he had intended for me. And so my faith ultimately got me to a point where I would say fast forward to this year, where I was able to take a break and focus on being creative.
No, that's tough. And that's actually dope because as a creative, I never used that word before, pruning, but I understand what you're saying because at that period of your life, what happens is that the people that you may have grew up with or the thing that you do on a normal basis, you no longer do. So you have to like unlearn to relearn, you know, and I think that's a pivotal step in any creative's road to success. It's like you have to unlearn a lot of things that you've learned over the years because it's not serving your purpose. And then you have to relearn, you know. So especially at the age that we're at, sometimes that can be tough, you know. They say trying to learn a new language at, you know, when you're older is harder, you know, because to retain things is harder. But you know, going on that path and going on that journey is very pivotal, and I knew it was pivotal for you. So did that lead you to your show? Or?
Yeah, so with Unexpected Love, well, which show? Well, okay, because I created, so I'll backtrack. So Dustin and I, we created Unexpected Love, but then I also have Real Unexpected. So that started out as a newsletter last year. However, I didn't intend for it to just be a newsletter. Like I definitely plan to create video content. So recently I've started like with that, like creating like video content where I'm doing interviews that align with like newsletters that I'm writing. But in terms of Real Unexpected, prior to all of this happening, it really started from my first trip to Thailand when I was 25. That was a birthday trip for myself. And it was an idea that when we travel as humans, a lot of the times, especially like in our culture, like, you know, it's like, oh, like what outfits are we going to wear? But I've never been that person. Like, outfits to me was never really my thing because I went to private school. So I didn't really care about fashion like that.
Yeah.
However, when I look at traveling, I like to look at it from the experience perspective. I like to look at it from the human interaction perspective. So with that, I was like, you know what? I think there's a show that needs to be created that amplifies not only the experience, but also the human interaction, but how does it impact you as a person for your mental well-being and your creativity? So when I went to Thailand, there were just so many different things that I was able to experience. I was able to learn. I was able to see more of what I can be if I was in a different environment, not necessarily moving to like another country or moving to another state. It was more so like, okay, if I were to do this full time, what would this look like for me? Like as the host, like, am I going to be able to be the one to host things? And anyone who knows me, I'm super particular. If you ask me about a show, I will give you the full rundown of the show. I'll give you like how I would change the show, what I would remove from the show. I'm just that kind of person. So when I was on the trip, we were doing different things and I was like, I think I could really host a show for real. And ultimately, as time went on, because that was like, 7 years ago, there were certain things that I was doing in between. So the idea of the show was in the back of my mind. However, I wasn't in the space to create the show. And then also it just seemed so far-fetched. And then also it just didn't seem like a realistic idea for me at the time. However, I've always was in this kind of space. I was always into theater because I was in theater in high school. I took acting lessons on the weekends. So I knew I wanted to be behind a camera and in front of a camera, but in what capacity, I just didn't know. And so now fast forward, not only do I have Real Unexpected as a newsletter, I've also created like the foundational documents for a show. I've submitted to a development plan competition
Nice.
to get the show actually developed.
How'd that go?
It's actually, I'm still waiting, but I have faith that God is going to allow that plan to come into fruition, because a lot of what has been happening and a lot of my experiences has led me to seeing that there's just different things that I've done, whether it was career or even helping Dustin and his brother Den with content creation, how I'm able to not only create something, but see it on paper, organize it in a way where it can be like a foundational piece of art. And then seeing it from like behind the lens and saying, okay, I would do this way, that way, that way. So I had to do a lot of different things to get to this point. And that's what made me feel comfortable enough to actually submit the treatment deck and to actually go forth with it. When I tell you, Dustin and I, we both submitted for the same competition, and the end date and the time was June 30th, 11:59 p.m. Do you know when I submitted mine? Or do you want to know when I submitted mine?
11:59.
Yeah.
June 3rd.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It literally, the last minute, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. And I was like, God, like, if it's your will, like, it'll be done. And I was like, I got it down to the wire, and he was like, all right, I submitted it, and now I'm just waiting. So I just feel like there's just so much of my story that I'm so excited to share, which is why creating the newsletter Real and Unexpected is kind of like the precursor, or like just like the
appetizer.
Yeah, the appetizer for Real and Unexpected Travels. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
I think you said a lot of great things, and since, you know, this is like the creative side, like what is like your motivation or like your inspiration when it comes to creating these different projects?
I really think it's a lot of my experience and reflecting and seeing what value I have within those experiences that I've had experience having. So for example, with work, every job that I've had, every role that I've had, I have been on a new role, or my role was new within that team. And so that's, for me, is a blessing. So going forward, I always want to be new. I want it to be either a new role or a new team, because I have been able to see where I can make an input, I can make change, I can be creative with my role, with my department, with my small immediate team, with the programs that I've created for my previous roles. I have even created policies and procedures for a team that started out as 7, that grew all the way to, I think, like, let's say 71 by the time I left.
Wow.
They're still using those same policies and procedures from when I started that small 7 of us. And I just feel like certain things like that, when I reflect on my past, I, even in those moments, I'm like, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea like how creative I really was, because I also was battling depression and didn't know that I had it. Like, you know, like life was going, and I just really wasn't paying attention because I just didn't know what was happening. And so in reflecting and seeing that there was every experience I've had, I see the value of who I am and what I brought to the whether it's to the team or to whatever it is that I was doing. I'm like, wow, I can take every piece of like experience or skill set that I gained and use that now. And I'm like, oh God, this is what you meant by just hold on. Like, this is literally happening for a reason, or you're here for a specific reason. Like, literally, when I tell you, like, it is the most beautiful thing when you look at life like a whole lesson. Like, you're supposed to learn, you're supposed to experience life in a way where you're a student.
Yeah.
And so having that experience of being a student to life, it really helped me become who I am today. And I can sit here confidently saying, yeah, I don't know everything about who I am. I don't know really what all of my inspiration may be or is. However, what I do know is that by me focusing on God and how he has a plan for me and focusing on that and really just focusing on like the discipline and the obedience and surrendering to the plans that he has instead of me trying to like maneuver my way and figuring out my way. I know that what I'm doing is what I should be doing. And there's just, I think I find a lot of beauty in not knowing all of my inspiration, because whenever something new happens, it's kind of like a, oh, wow, like this is what inspired you. Like I feel like I have like aha moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Oh, this is why I love this, or so yeah.
So just to piggyback off something you said, because I believe a lot of creatives go through it. And you said that you were battling depression, right? Now, we don't have to spend too much time on it, but I believe that's another thing, like I said just now, is that we all find ourselves in that space where we're just battling depression in ourselves and our thoughts. So if you could just piggyback on that, how did you realize that you were battling depression and what did you do to get up out of it?
And thirdly, how important is mental health when it comes to, the creative side of things?
Okay. So I would say first, like I said, I didn't know. Now, all I did know is that there were certain things that was triggering me. Like I had my first professional job that I had a racist manager. And that was very difficult because, at that time, it was like I wasn't looking at it from that perspective until like a few years later, and reflecting like, oh, she was being racist towards me. But in the moment I was dealing with that, I had just graduated high school like a year prior. So I had trauma from high school that I experienced. And then I also was going to school full time. I was working a part-time job. So all of that happening all at one time, I wasn't focused on my mental health, and I didn't really take it into consideration because no one is really talking about that, or
especially in the Black community.
Exactly. So at that time, it just wasn't something that was important for me. However, I was always someone who looked at the glass as half full, regardless of my situation. When I was working at that time, when I was working at my full-time job with that manager, I literally was coming home crying every single day. Like legit, Monday through Friday, I would come home, cry. And then I had class as well. I was working a part-time job and going to school, and it's just like, it was so tough, but I'm not associating that like with just, depression. Like who thinks like, okay, like it's like, how do you get that? Like, cause I didn't know. And then it wasn't up until like years later, I want to say, maybe like 2018, I was like, maybe I should. And one of my coworkers who is a really, really great dear friend of mine who has become like a sister, she was like, you should see my therapist. She's like really cool. Like, you will love her. And one thing about therapy that I had learned at that time is that you should find a therapist that looks like you. Correct. Because if not, then you are going to be talking to someone that is unbiased, but is unbiased to even your own experience in life.
There's like no connection there.
Exactly. So it's just like what I've experienced. How can I share that with someone who doesn't look like me? Because what I'm going to share is part of the Black experience. And if you don't know what that is, then there's not much that you can do to help me. And so once I started therapy, I was like, the first conversation that I had, like the initial conversation, she was just like, yeah, so like, just tell me about yourself. And I'm like, well, I don't really know where to start. So she was like, okay, like, let's just start with your family. And so I was like, okay. So we started talking about like family dynamics. And so I went into that, and it ultimately led me to gaining a lot of insight and wisdom on how to maintain relationships, but also understanding the importance of boundaries. And at that time, I had no idea that I should be focusing on boundaries. But boundaries is a really big thing when we think about mental health, which for me, mental health is so important because your creativity in relation to mental health is so important, because you as the creative, you have obviously worldly experiences that you're going through. And so if you're feeling clouded, like how I was feeling last year, for example, that was a pivotal time. And it was very like, I felt like it was like a why now moment, because like few months right before that, in January, I released my first YouTube video.
Wow.
So I released, right. So I was like on a high. I was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, like, you know, I have my YouTube channel. I have a vision of how I see me doing like different like vlogs and stuff like that. We had also released a podcast around that time.
Okay.
So I was like really like hyped. Like, I'm like, oh God, like you're putting me on the path now. Great. And then it was like, no, now you're foggy. And I'm like, wait, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. And so with that being said, I could not move. I couldn't physically move to like edit. I would get content, but I wouldn't be able to actually edit it.
You getting creative block.
Yes. Having that creator's block literally is what kept a hold of me. But that creator's block is the mental health aspect of it, where if you're not in the space or the headspace to be able to be creative and allow your creativity to flow, it won't be able to flow. And that even goes down to like later on in the year last year, I would say around this time last year, I had released my newsletters. I think I had at this time probably like 2 or 3 newsletters. And then it became like everything just felt overwhelming. Like I just felt like life was overwhelming. I just couldn't really handle it. And so I developed anxiety. I'm like, first of all, I'm like, how? And then I realized with like family things, you know, my dad had got sick. I'm like trying to figure out like, you know, what should I be doing? I'm also looking at the world and listening to what the world is saying, like, oh, just do it, just do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying, but what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So like that mental health piece to your creativity, it really makes a world of a difference. And if you don't have any sense of clarity or a sense of peace, you're not going to be able to produce what it is that really just comes naturally. Now, granted, there are some people who can create while under pressure and while they're going through things, which I think is so beautiful, because if you can push through that, that's just like a testament to your ability to be disciplined and having grit and really just like working hard. But not to say to the person that's like myself, where I just can't, like, you know, everyone's different. And I think that part is what also separates us all as humans, but also separates us all as creatives, because what I can create while I'm like not under pressure, maybe you can't create it, but you probably create it while you're under pressure.
Correct.
And so I think when you also look at the 3 of us, we're all creative in our own way. We all have different experiences. We can all be going through something. However, there's beauty in whatever it is that we do create. And then also there's beauty in connection, community, which I think that is what I love about the Creators Edition and why we are even starting it, because community is so important, especially when we think about like mental health too, because when you are able to have a conversation with someone, look at them and just be like, okay, you're a human just like I am. I know that you're going through things, and just be like, hey, like, what's up? Like, you know, you could literally let me talk and just let me like decompress. That could have been like the best thing for me for that day. And that could ultimately help me produce something that's super creative. Whereas if I didn't have that human interaction, if I didn't have the community to go to, I probably would have clammed up, and then whatever the talents and the gifts that God has given me, it would have just been inside. So yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said a lot, because a lot of people do get overwhelmed. A lot of people do experience creator's block. A lot of people even experience exhaustion, like mentally, like coming up with ideas every day. People are constantly trying to go viral. It's like you know, they say cloud is a drug, and like even the underlying part of the cloud is you actually have to come up with things to do that. So you're driving yourself crazy each and every day, trying to make something that a lot of people are gonna love. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like attention seeking. Yeah, and I guess, not necessarily respectful manner, but like because social media, everybody's trying to do social media. Everybody's trying to be an influencer. Everybody wants to influence other people, whatever the case may be. But like you said, just even the overwhelming part of it is you can only do but so much.
Yeah.
Like no matter how multifaceted you are, like, and this is like for the people out there as well, like no matter how multifaceted you are, you should always have somewhere to go for like some sort of comfort, like whether it's venting, decompressing with someone, like just for you to get back into the flow of things, like have your like fix, because this world will eat you alive. And by this world, I mean society.
Yeah.
By this world, I mean where we live, where you live, the social media part of things. Like everyone goes online and they think like things are exactly what people put them up to be. And that's not the truth at all. Like I saw something yesterday. Tamala and her husband, I don't even know his real name, but Mr. Brown, that's what I call him.
Oh, yeah.
They were on the Breakfast Club, and he was basically telling the story about before I guess they got together, like originally or something. He had like a baby on the way, and he already had like 2 kids. But I'm like, yo, I did not know all of this, and it was like, but people in the comment, but everyone can look at them and go, wow, they're truly in love. Like obviously, you can look at it and go, wow. He had 3 kids before he found love. Well, I mean, that's life. Also, if you look at it, how many jobs did you go through before you got to the one that you actually loved, that you worked your way into? Like, who are you to like diminish anybody else's experience in life? We're all here experiencing things. No one knows what's actually right and what's actually wrong for the most part. There's a 50-50 chance when you make a decision. It's either going to come out one way or another. Some people are right with the decision they make, and some people aren't. But I say that to say, like, a lot of people don't know that, when it comes to creators or whatever, no one really knows how to deal with things when they come about. So, like, for you, even going through depression, right? You didn't know that at the time, but now in hindsight, you do know that. So even if you see someone else going through it, you can say, hey, I know what you're going through. And that's community.
Correct.
Right.
That's building, like, even if that's me and you, that's building, like, brotherhood,
Correct.
Friendship,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people need to lean more towards it, like, hey, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's okay to talk about things. Like, even if you grew up thinking, you may not have friends or whatever, like, find something. Like, a therapist is, like, the perfect place to start. So I think you touched on a lot of things that are very important to people that are out there, and hopefully you watch this and you go, or hear this and you go,
Yeah.
she's speaking to me really loudly right now. So I think that's definitely something good, because like I said, it's also like medicine. Like no one knows what people are going through when they go through like social media stuff. So it's like, it's very unprecedented. It's like we're the first wave of like creators.
Yeah, exactly.
It started like 10, 11, 12 years ago when YouTube first came out, whatever. Like, we won't know what social media is going to actually turn into until, like, who knows, 10 years from now. A lot of people are out here just doing whatever. There's no actual path, avenue, lane, drive, road, place, cul-de-sac, for, like, how to, like, go about things.
Exactly.
Like, this is not like, oh, you have this job, you do A, you do B, you
exactly.
do C.
Nah, it's not like that.
A, you do B, you don't get C.
You might
get G. And you're like, where'd G come from?
Exactly.
And what I think is so interesting about that is that because social media is it's pretty much like so broad to the point where like you don't know like where you can go or how far you can take it. Yeah. I think a lot of people are scared of it or don't understand it or are against it, because when you think about your creativity, ultimately you have to take a risk somewhere in your life. Yeah. And a lot of people are not willing to. They're not, they may not be comfortable doing it. They may not know that they can take a risk. They may not know that they are actually creative. There's so many different things that can hinder someone from even tackling anything that is creative. And I feel like with social media specifically, it's just, you can literally do so much with it. You can create so much with social media, that I think that's the part of like the creators edition that is a testament to that. We are building something that we see necessary, and that we also see being something completely innovative and different.
Correct.
But what are we doing? We're taking a risk. We know that there's going to be things that we have to say, okay, we can't do that today because we got to do this. However, with discipline, with our obedience, with our will to submit to whatever God has given us and what he sees for our plans, we're able to actually get those things done, and we will see the fruits of our labor. Correct. Because we are actually taking the risk that's necessary. And I feel like the more people understand that your risks are not anything that's going to hinder you, they're not going to make you any less of a person. You may have to give up something, but I mean, what's giving up a day of fun for a life of autonomy over your life in a way that, you know, you may not have that if you were to just abide by everything.
Societal rules. It's crazy because like everything that y'all saying right now is hitting home. And that's why I even love the fact that we're doing this show too, because over the summertime, I never knew that I could go through depression. But when I tore my Achilles, it like put a lot of things into perspective. Like I don't really have a big network of like close friends, or like I don't have it's not gonna be how it used to be when I was younger, or like, you know, I'm getting older and it's not nobody's fault, but everybody's spreading away and they're doing their own thing, starting their own families, going through their own lives, you know what I'm saying? So I had to go through a transformation as well too, just with my mental health, because just like you said, that creator's block, like I never realized how, I really realized it this summer, like how mental health and creativity go hand in hand. It's even down to your gut health. Like, what are you putting into your stomach? Because that will make your brain foggy, you know? So these are all the things that we need to pay attention to as far as like what we put into our bodies as far as nourishment. Because what people don't understand is that our bodies is the greatest technology ever made. There's nothing else that can be better than the human body, you know? We have, from the small intestines to the heart to the brain, how everything is in contact with each other, to blood cells, to all these things. And this is the greatest thing that we there's nothing that can ever touch this. No Tesla robot, nothing.
No,
like
seriously.
None of that could touch the
Tesla robot.
Yeah, I ain't getting that. No. But you know what I'm saying? Hell no. I mean, but
I just want to talk about the Tesla robot real quick. Were you done? Sorry, I don't want to cut you.
No, basically, I was just saying that, you know, we just have to pay more attention to our bodies in order for us as creatives to stay creative and be able to give what God wanted us to give to the world.
Yeah. I also, before you go into the Tesla robot, I also want to like touch on the fact that like I think too, being a millennial and then also being in your 30s, that also plays a part too, because the part of what you had said about like your friends and like friends spreading apart, and like you literally like are now like building a life, like everyone's building lives. And I feel like for me too, that also made an impact on me too, because, you know, when you grow up with certain people and you like have like your close knit of friends, and then it's just like, okay, you're not like seeing each other as often because maybe they're in different states, or that can access to your mental health. Then it's just like, you know, life is moving and everyone's busier. So then you end up not talking to them as much. Exactly. That adds to it. Yep. And so it's just like for you to have to go through life and also understand that you're going to separate from the people that you love too, because everyone has their own lives to live. It's really important to make sure that obviously creating a community where you can go to just, you know, to have like human interaction, but also just having that interaction with yourself too. And I think that's also something I would love to get your point on. Like, how did you find community within yourself? Like, did you find that yet? Or like, have you done anything to like work towards that?
Well, in order for me, when I tore my Achilles and when I was going through all of this, I knew either I have to do something about it or it's going to consume me. You know, it's gonna just take over, and I'm not going to be able to fulfill the promises that I made to myself. You know, I my harshest critic is myself, and the dreams and the goals and the aspirations that I have, I sacrificed so much for it, you know, at a young age up until this point. You know, everybody, even my mother's like, yo, you don't be having fun. You do, you know, you always giving your money to this. Or you get, but it's just because that's what I believe that my purpose in this world is, you know, and unfortunately, but fortunately, nobody else is going to see my path except for me, because God assigned it to me. You know what I'm saying? So I can't. I used to be so upset, like, damn, like, why nobody, like, why my friends always want a discount on my clothes, or why this or why that? But it's because they only see from their perspective, and I have to respect that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you don't have to do anything, but I got to respect what I'm supposed to be doing. And a lot of people and I feel bad, is that a lot of people in this world, they don't know their purpose. They don't
At all.
They don't know what their purpose is, so they don't know what to sacrifice, you know, or or they don't know what their life is about. So they're just going to work, going home, just doing whatever, and keep repeating the same cycle.
Right.
And unfortunately, I feel bad for them, because God showed me my purpose at the age of 20. Now, walking that path, has it been easy? Hell no. Has it been? I've questioned God so many times. I didn't understand a lot of things. In a sense, it kind of made me angry at times, you know. But the times when I felt just a little success, just one person telling me, even seeing Queen of Hearts, or seeing my clothes, or even people telling me like, yo, I've seen people in Virginia wearing your hat, or this and that. It's just like, those little things as a creative pushes me to continue to keep going for more months. You know what I'm saying? Because that little thing makes me know, like, all right, I'm doing something right. This world is over it's over billions and billions of people in this world, right? So if you could find your niche and like we said, your community, that will help you keep going, you know?
Absolutely. And I feel like you also touch on a point where a lot of people think like, okay, like once I like, you know, become creative and I know what I'm supposed to be doing and I put it out there, it's supposed to just like blow up. No. And the thing is to also, we've mentioned our faith. Our faith plays a major part. And I think that is also what separates the people who are understanding of like what their purpose is versus who don't. Because for us, especially for me, I'm like, look, I gotta just like ask God for the instruction. I can put out all these different things, which I have in the past. I've put out, even with Real Unexpected, last year I posted and I had a few newsletters, and then I stopped because like I just, you know, was overwhelmed.
It didn't feel like it
didn't feel like I was like, you know, I'm like, oh, it's not really, you know, garnering what I thought.
Exactly.
Because I'm like, I know I'm a great writer. I know what I'm sharing is great.
You know, I feel that.
It's like, okay, well, like what's happening? And, you know, God will literally, he'll allow you to do something. He'll give you the vision. He'll be like, all right, great. Like you have the vision. Here it is. Then he's like, well, what are you going to do next? And that was like the pivotal moment for me between last year around this time versus I would say a few months ago, where it was last year. I was like, okay, I'm going to just put it out there. Great.
Now you're intentional about it.
I'm intentional. I know what I want to do. But then it's like, all right, now I'm overwhelmed. How? God was like, you need to seek me for my instruction. I need you to ask me. I'm the one who gave you the vision. I'm the one who gave you all of the abilities that you're going to be able to display to the world. So why are you not seeking me for real? Like I'm the one. So like I had to have that pivotal switch too, because it's one thing to believe in God. It's one thing to believe in his plans and purposes for you, but it's how do you steward that? And stewarding is the verb. And within that stewardship, you have to seek him and seek his instruction, because if you don't seek the instruction, then you're gonna just do things willy-nilly, and then you're gonna ultimately, like some people, they'll start and they'll just like give up because they didn't ask for the instruction.
Correct.
For God, he's like, I literally have so much for you. I'll never leave you nor forsake you. If you seek me, I will literally give everything to you. Like all you have to do is ask. That's literally all God said. Matthew 6:33. Seek the Lord, seek thy kingdom, and everything will be added onto you. If all I have to do is seek him and everything will be added onto me, oh, well, then sign me up. And literally, literally a few months ago, it clicked because I was like, I need another, like, something. I need more. And once I started doing more of seeking him, it shifted even my perspective on productivity. Like productivity, for example, the way that the world sees it, it's the just do it now. You have to be productive. If you're not working towards your goals, you are deemed unsuccessful. However, what I realize is that that is the idea and the concept of the enemy, because he wants you to just be doing things, busy work.
Yeah.
Literally busy work.
Yeah.
However, for me, I was like, you know what? 1 week alone, I literally just sat, did nothing but just read scripture. I learned so much. I gained so much wisdom, and God showed me so much more that it helped me in this particular moment right here, right now.
Yeah.
That 1 week alone, just sitting with God in scripture, helped me be of value to the Creator's Edition. Now, had I not did that, had I just been on the productivity concept of the world, we probably wouldn't really be sitting here, or I just wouldn't be sitting here. And I feel like that is really important also for everyone out there to know too, because sometimes we are looking for an answer, and sometimes that answer, or not sometimes, that answer is always if you believe, because I'm not going to force anyone to, change a religion or anything like that. But for me, I believe that if you want to know more about who you are, who God created you to be, then you just have to seek him, and he will add everything onto you. And that's the instructions to fulfill the plans that he has for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I got a question for both of y'all. I told y'all before we started this, I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
So, unexpected love. How did that come about? What made y'all, or what inspired y'all to do a dating show? I know you guys have a little bit of history with dating shows from before, but like, what made you guys decide to come out with it now?
I think, well, one, we watch dating shows all the time. So like, I'm just like, that would be cool if like we had like our own dating show. But I think too, specifically since we're putting this on, or it is on YouTube, a lot of what we see, like, it's just a lot of surface level things. Like, everyone's like looking at someone from their outwardly appearance. And it's just like, well, that's not what the person is. Like, a homeless person can be the kindest, most humblest, most just greatest person, but you wouldn't go to the homeless person because he looks like homeless and he's homeless. However, it's just like the conversations these days just doesn't seem deep enough for me. Like, obviously we're in a relationship, but to watch something, it's just like, is this what we're talking about right now? Like,
it's shallow.
Yeah, and it's just like there's no like substance. And a lot of that, unfortunately, is because a lot of people don't know who they are, and that's fine. Like, just say you don't know who you are, but the thing is, like, when you have a lot of pride within yourself, and you're not, if you don't allow yourself to humble the aspect of like identity of who you think you are, if you're not willing to just be like, okay, I don't really know, this is where you have like all of these like superficial conversations, because you're only going based off of the identity of someone from the outside. You don't know who you are from the inside.
Correct.
And so for us, I feel like, at least for me, that was one component of why we created it. I'll let Dustin speak.
I would say, I think people, the biggest thing why I think dating shows are even made is because there's so many like hopeful romantics out there. Yeah. People that they look and they want love. they want love. They see it. They say, like, people make these power couples, or what these couples they idolize, whatever. All of it is in the same umbrella, like under the same umbrella. I think people should experience love, because I feel like once you actually find it and you experience it, is everything that you probably thought it would be times 100, times infinity. Yeah. So I feel like the fact that so many people are longing for it, and the dating pool right now, I know.
Sorry, like, y'all singles out there, we feel bad for y'all.
It's tough.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so to even just help, whether it may be, hey, we might put like 100 people on a date. Even if we help 2 people find love, you doing something that maybe they couldn't find each other on their own. Yeah, like, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't give up on love. Like, just try a little bit harder and a little bit different. Yeah, differently. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, try things that's kind of like out of your norm. And even the people that we auditioned for the show, we told them that, like, like, have you ever done something like this? And they're like, no, but they were very hopeful. You know what I'm saying? And I think that part also warms my heart as well, because it's like, yo, I understand. Well, I can empathize with how you feel. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I said, I really feel like people should experience that love. So just giving people a platform or a place where they can just probably come and actually find it, so be it.
And speaking of like where to find it, where can they find it?
So you talking about Unexpected Love?
Yes.
You can find that on YouTube.
Okay.
Just look up Unexpected Love, or you can look at my channel on YouTube. It's called Dustin and Denzel, and you'll be able to find it right there. Season 1 is actually out right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think we're just gonna continue to do like different variations of it. Also, like some other projects as well.
Okay.
Kind of some stuff based off like the conversation we had today. But you'll see in the future. Yeah. But yeah, just like even with the dating, like I said, people should feel and experience love at least once in their life.
Yeah.
Whether you and that person in y'all lives may not align at the right person right time. Even if it's that, at least you know what it felt like, and it's something you can also long for. Maybe even work it out. Yeah. Because a lot of people, they don't come from like 2-parent households.
Yes. Yeah.
So even from birth, you may not know what like love really is. But even having 2-parent households, you still might not even experience it as well. Like it doesn't mean you actually do. So it's kind of like whatever you see it as, you kind of like search for it as well, and just kind of find somebody that aligns with it. Like I said, just helping people. It's like being like a wingman.
Exactly.
Like I've played wingman before, and I've seen how it worked out for people.
Exactly.
And it's like, wow, I feel happy that I assisted you.
Exactly.
It's like being a point guard in basketball.
Exactly.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm happy I helped you score.
Yeah.
Happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, you're trying to make it, because I believe what sucks about the dating pool right now, from what I've seen just on like social media, is like everything's transactional. You know what I'm saying? It's more about, what can you give me and what can we do today versus what can we build. I see why it's not working too well for most people nowadays, because, not everybody can do that type of transactional type of love. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's the type of love you should give anyway.
Right.
I agree. I think a lot of people don't actually want the experience of love. Like, I think they kind of trick themselves into it. I really feel like a lot of people like what it looks like.
Correct.
And that's more what they like.
Correct.
So even when they go find somebody, every person they find is
you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're trying to replicate maybe what you saw.
Exactly.
What you heard,
like the
pic. This is what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a guy can say, I want a woman that does this, that, and the third, because that's what Jay-Z got at home or whatever. Right. And then you're looking for it in the wrong person.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I'm saying? The person you're looking for, somebody already has.
Exactly.
So look for something different. What do you want?
Exactly.
I think it's just even deeper than that. Like even like earlier we were saying, like people don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
Right.
So because you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want.
Exactly.
Like that void that you're filling in with whoever, which let it be a persona or whatever, alias, whatever you want to call it, Tesla robot.
Right.
You're letting that fuel what you think you may want.
Exactly.
Because then when you get it, if you do get it, you go,
I really want this.
I don't really know if this is what I really wanted.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I want the new iPhone and I get the new iPhone, I'm happy I got the new iPhone. I want the PS5. I got the PS5. I'm happy I got the PS5. Other people, they like, they may want a PS5, but they went and got an Xbox and then said, man, why is it not everything I thought it was going to be? Because you're looking in the wrong places.
Right, exactly.
So I think it kind of like goes with that, So that's that.
Yeah, and I think just like to piggyback off of that a little bit too is just like even down to like getting an iPhone or something, right? We can see like what it looks like from the outside perspective. We know like all the specs and stuff like that. But then what happens when it unexpectedly shuts off? You know, like that's what love is too. It's not always going to be like sunshine and rainbows. And I feel like a lot of what people are experiencing now is they think of love and they view love as just that. Whereas it's not that. It's two people coming together with their own experiences, their own perspective, their own traumas, their own, you know, you don't know who you're getting until you actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
And so for unexpected love, we specifically, we both are very, we love psychology. So that was really important for us to also incorporate that in some capacity. And with psychology, just understanding like what the mind is like thinking, we wanted to have real conversations. Like we didn't want it to just be like, okay, like you look nice. Okay. Like, no, like what's on your brain? Like, you know, what do you like? Do you prefer the beach or something, or swimming in the pool or something, you know, like just even if it's that small of like a question, it may seem like, oh, well, it's just a this or that question. However, that could be one of the things that make or break somebody. You never know. Like, you know, if you're allergic to peanut butter, just like how Gigi had asked Den if he was allergic to peanut butter, like literally like off the bat, like she went in knowing like, hey, I know that I like peanut butter, so I want to make sure that
you like peanut butter too.
Exactly.
Because if not, at least you give me an option to like, all right, now I know. So do I want to deal with this or not? You know what I'm saying?
And she was so wise and why she had said that, because like during the casting, she explained that to us, and she had said that, you know, because she's someone who incorporates a lot of peanut butter in her diet, she doesn't want to just only consider herself. She wants to consider her partner as well. And I think that's so wise for someone to be like, you know what? I know that, like, you know, I don't really know you, but I also, in getting to know you, I want you to know that I'm considerate as well.
Yeah.
So, hey, I love peanut butter. Are you allergic?
Exactly.
And it's just like small things like that. Never realize like how important and pivotal that is, because that was so unexpected to us to hear that. Because he's allergic to peanut butter, and that wasn't a question that I asked because I wasn't thinking it.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So
those are the things that you learn as you're with the person. But for somebody to actually act like know about themselves, and then just like what you were saying, you got to know yourself. So when you're going for your partner, that you know that could be somebody that could be compatible.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I also think to even go back, like when two people meet each other, it's like they're not even them real.
They're not.
Some people aren't.
They're not,
their
bro.
Real selves.
They're not. Like
it's like, you know, you're showing up for a job interview. Like, when I show up to a job interview,
I'm
the
answering
fakest
all the
person.
right questions.
I'm the fakest person you know.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get.
Have you
I'm trying
ever
to get
built
a
a
job.
robot from scratch? I've done it
Absolutely.
17 times this month alone. I don't know what you're talking about at all, but I'm gonna lie to get the job. And I think a lot of people, and again, transactional like that as well. Like it's not just like financial, but it's like very transactional. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna say what I want to get what I want. You know, like I said, whether it's the look, whether it's, you know, the sex, whether it's whatever, like I think people just go into it with the wrong mindset.
Correct.
And even like we watch Love is Blind, right? To be honest, I love the concept of
I can't front. I never watched Love is Blind.
and that's fine. You're not really missing much but drama at this point.
Yeah, I'm not
And
with it.
total disappointment.
Yeah,
but it's just like you're watching it. Like, to me, the concept is you don't get to see the other person. You can only speak to the person through the pods. So it's like I'm in a chair and, well, not me, but like one person's in a chair in one room and another person's in another chair in the opposite room.
Okay.
And I guess it's like mic'd up or whatever. You can clearly hear the person. You just can't see them. You don't know what they look like. You don't know what they feel like. I don't even think you can discuss like race or anything like that. Like you can probably like guess based off of like accents and like how like people speak and things like that. But you pretty much don't know what the other person looks like. So you're pretty much building your relationship based off of nothing but conversations.
Do you think that's healthy?
I think it's a step in a direction that's better than social media, like better than people just objectifying everybody they see. Oh, I want the girl with the big boobs and the big butt. Oh, I want the guy with the nice abs. Oh, I want this or I want that. Oh, this is exactly my type. And that's the only thing. If it doesn't come my way, like, how do you know you didn't pass up on your soulmate being so, like, judging a book by its cover? You didn't even get to the person's personality. You know what I'm saying? Like if a person's big, they can actually lose that.
They could.
Number one. Number
Right.
two, even if they can't, why are they like that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're basically disqualifying people just based off of the look.
Right.
You know, so that's what I like about Love is Blind, the concept. You pretty much, you don't know what the other person looks like. You're basing it off of personality, which I think is one of the main things. I feel like you should be this person's friend before getting into it.
Yeah, that's a
So
fact.
a lot of people don't treat others with that same sentiment. Like, the way I treat Janae is different than I treat other people because, like, me and her are actually friends before this.
Yeah.
If it was just like, oh yeah, hey, you want to date? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I could totally disrespect her because actually I don't
Give a
know
fuck.
her. I
Yeah.
don't really have
Right.
a loyalty to her because I wasn't her friend.
Yeah.
So even when she does things, it's not like I know that she would do that. I'm like, man, what the hell you want?
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. So I think a lot of people just, like I said, they just go into it the wrong way. But if people can change or be more open minded, like I think we talk a lot about taking risks. I think
Yeah.
people should take risks. Like, go for somebody you normally wouldn't go after and just see how it goes. You might find a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just might.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, whenever you have like that actual connection with someone through a conversation, it's different than like what you see. Like, you had asked, like, do you think it's healthy? I do think it can be very healthy because if you're doing it with the right intention, and I would say if both of you are doing it with the right intention to see like where it goes, it can be something that's really beautiful because you're literally taking away the outwardly view of like what you look like and what that other person looks like, and you're saying, okay, this is who I am. I'm putting everything but what I look like on the table. Now, do you like what you hear without seeing it first?
But now, does what you hear, and if it can't match what you see, do you still go for that? Because we also don't want to negate the looks of a person either. You know what I'm saying? That could go, that's another part of falling in love with somebody as well too. Every morning, you know, you wake up and you want to look at the person that you're actually waking up to. So it's like, I understand the concept of understanding a person's heart first before, you know, in their mind before you see them. But also now, are you shallow if you kick it with this person and they're really dope, they're really cool, but then when you see them, they don't really turn you on as much? Is that still considered shallow?
Not really. But I think, again, I just think you're taking a step in a different direction than you normally would. You know, because now what if not everybody ends up with somebody that is like, who was your celebrity crush growing up?
Bow Wow.
Do I look like Bow Wow? Exactly. So it's just like, I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, people can fantasize or crush on
People.
like a type, or whatever the case may be, and go, that's what I really want. I remember it was even a trend on TikTok, like, yo, who was your celebrity crush growing up? Now, who are you with? Like, show who you with. And people are actually dogging a lot of people in the comments. But I think it's funny in that way because, hey, you know, but I also think it's a funny, not ha-ha funny, but like funny because it's like, yeah, like, are you just being imaginative? You know, like, you can't, what made you like this person? You like this other person because of their looks and you know nothing about them.
Yeah.
But then you also fell in love with this person that you probably have a whole family with, probably spending the rest of your life with because of their personality, and the looks probably, it's kind of like a balance.
Yep.
You know, like, hey, their personality might be a 5 and their face might be a 5. So that's a 10 to you.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
like, or it might, or it might be a 2.5 depending on how you do math. But you know, you might have somebody with a bomb personality, and then, you know, they're like, all right, they're like a 7, they're not a 10. I don't think anybody should date anybody that's a 10.
Yeah.
To be honest, because you're probably setting yourself up for so much insecurity.
Yeah.
But I just feel like whatever feels right to you is what you kind of go with. Like, if you don't feel right looking at somebody, like, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like, because somebody's ugly to one person, they're beautiful to somebody else. You know, so I think it's just that. So when I think about, like I said, even the concept of love is blind, is that healthy?
Yeah.
It can be, but I don't think nothing is actually guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about
perspective.
Exactly, perspective. Everything is 50-50.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like people don't go in. They say that they're going into it with the right intention and they have a specific intention why they want to do it, but they're not really like intentionally doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like if you know you're going into this knowing that you're not going to see the person, you have to also be okay with whatever that person looks like once that, you know, so you have to also be willing to really remove the idea of letting that get to you. Because honestly, I feel like Dustin wasn't my first choice, you know what I mean, in terms of like look wise when we first got together, and he knows this. However, who he is as a person literally made me fall in love with him, because he was just so genuine. He was just so real and honest and just true to himself, and he was able to take accountability for, you know, the things that he wasn't aware of. There's just a lot of things that I'm like, okay, well, I haven't found this, and this is great. And, you know, he saw me as a friend, not someone that he was trying to get with. I didn't feel like I had to like put up a front. I was able to just like be myself even when I didn't know myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like in that moment of like us like building what we have, I'm like, okay, that's what they mean when they say like, you know, you can find the beauty in someone even if they're not, let's say, like what you would actually go for, because honestly, that the personality, who they are to themselves, one, and then who they are to you is the most important thing, because the looks at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Someone can go and get plastic surgery today and look completely different.
Correct.
So it's just like, you know, and I also feel like when you're in a relationship like Dustin and I feel like with the conversation, the communication that we have, there's things that we are both very honest with each other about. Like, hey, you know what? Like, you know, if I'm like packing on a few pounds, like I want you to let me know, because I've already let you know that I don't want to, you know, get to a certain point. So, hey, be upfront with me. If you feel like I'm getting a little too, like, you know, big for what I am comfortable with, then let me know, and vice versa. And we will have that conversation. So I feel like there's ways that you can go about like enhancing each other through the communication, through that connection that you build. But the connection is what is most important. And I feel like if you are going to actually go through an experience like that, yes, it can definitely be healthy. However, you have to go into it knowing that you are not going to see what you wanted, and just being okay with that, like, period. You will not go in there seeing what you want. Are you okay with that? And if you're okay with that, then you move forward. But if you really deep down inside, you're not, then this is where we get all of the drama and stuff like that, because everyone is just doing it just to be on the show, or just doing it because they're hopeless romantics trying to fill a void.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we touched a lot of deep topics on this second episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Miss Janae Ashley, for stopping by.
Appreciate you.
For those of you out there, if you're watching this, I hope you learned something.
Yeah.
Whether it's one thing or 10 things or 30 things, as long as you leave with something, you know. A wise man once said, "I'm from around the way. I'm leaving here with something."
My boy Denzel.
Exactly. So, but yeah, this was episode 2. We had a great conversation. I loved it a lot.
Oh, if you have anything to comment, please put it in the comment box, please. We want to have a conversation with y'all. And if y'all have any other topics that y'all feel like we should speak about on the creative side, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a chef, if you're a soccer player, if you're a video gamer, if you're a goddamn astronaut, it don't matter. We want to be able to speak to you. So just let us know, type in the comments, you know, you can hit us up, and yeah.
Yeah, let us know what you learned today, you know. Let us know your thoughts on what we talked about today.
Yeah. I'm going to make a fake account and comment. You guys should interview a Tesla robot.
A pregnant one. Do you know they're trying to make it pregnant?
Okay, we're not going to continue this conversation.
Yeah, that's wicked.
But yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, sign up to the mailing list. Whatever we got in the description down below, please read that. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you, Janae.
Yes.
I appreciate you too.
I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you both.
Yeah, we'll check you guys out in the next episode. All right?
Holla.
Peace.
The Creators Edition. The Creators Edition. The Creators Edition. The dish. The Creators Edition. The Creators Edition.